We got some you buying that. All right, Chandler, we'll start with you on the first one. So when asked about his emotions, because as we know, Lakers Mavs on Wednesday, that's a big one. Anthony Davis said, no emotions. Are you buying that?
I'm not buying it. And it's what you're supposed to say. It's what you should say. But any team, any player that goes from, another team and goes back to that franchise, there's always more emotions just walking into that building, going to the opposing locker room, seeing the ushers and, the staff that you've been seeing for years. And it's weird and it's definitely different. So I don't believe that. I think once the ball goes up and he sees the ball go through the rim, obviously then things change. He settles in. It's just another game. But not going into this game, there's definitely more emotions. Just the magnitude of this trade, too, the surprise factor. Everyone's shocked. He wants to play well, and you definitely have a little bit of extra. You got a little bit of extra. When you play against your ex team. So I'm not buying this. I think this is definitely an emotional game for him.
I mean, I think Luka will be the one to sort of keep your eye on, because that's how does that get handled? Like, that's going to be the weird part.
Yeah, this game is
it's in Dallas. Right? Yeah.
So this is the one. This is the one that I wish happened early, right away, because that would have been great. Now, listen, Lakers, it's so jumbled up. They would love to win this game. So
yeah,
I think it's a bigger deal for Luka going back to Dallas, and Luka's want to have a 50 ball against these dudes and prove yet again that they made a huge mistake. So Anthony Davis, obviously he was hurt when they came to LA, so he didn't get to play that. So this is his first time playing against him, but much bigger deal for Luka going back to Dallas, in my opinion.
No emotions.
Yeah,
Danny?
I'm not buying it at all. And it's okay to admit, like, you were at this organization for what, 6, 7. Anthony Davis has been there for like 6, 7 years before they traded him. Luka the same. So it's going to be a thing for both sides until the end of time. Like, they're always going to see, like, Luka's always going to have a thing against Dallas. AD is always going to have a thing against the Lakers, and also his first organization that he played with, New Orleans. So anytime he gets a chance to go back and play against that team, he's going to want to make a statement. It's going to be an emotional time because he spent so much time there. And he has the same mindset as Luka. He wants to let them know they made a mistake. This wasn't, and I'm also a guy in the trade that people have kind of looked down upon AD as if he's like not this great piece to get in return. So he's coming out. The reason why he came back, I think, the end of the season, let people know not only that he's healthy, but I'm no bum. You traded me for Luka because I'm one of the better players in this league too. Because Luka's so good, they look at AD like, oh, Dallas should have gotten more. Maybe they should have, but AD ain't no slouch. He's one of the best two-way players the game has ever seen. And he's going to show that night in, night out, especially against the team that traded him. So there's definitely emotions there tonight, and there's going to be emotions there every night that these teams match up.
Man,
by the way, Danny, they play the Thunder. The Lakers play the Thunder tonight.
Yeah.
And the second night of a back-to-back tomorrow. Does Luka play them both? Does Luka not play tonight and get ready for Dallas?
Oh.
He's got to play in
bro.
Dallas, right? He's not going to play tonight and not playing Dallas.
Lakers need all the home court they need the positioning. And the West is so tight, they can't just give up games. It's go time. It's money time. You got to play both games. He's playing both games.
The early speculation is that they rest a bunch of folks tonight. The Lakers do.
Listen, that
give us what we want.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't even be upset if Luka didn't play tonight. I want you rested tomorrow.
Kind of smart too, because they don't want they beat OKC pretty good the other day. They don't want to see they want to be able to have that, I'm gonna say one up on OKC, but not have them, OKC have a good feel for them before playoffs if they end up matching up with them in the playoffs in the second round or so. So I mean, I guess it's kind of smart, but they said they showed the world that they can beat, the number 1 seeded team, and now you got Shannon Sharp talking crazy, Lakers in 5 because they beat, so
out of control.
It gives all those LeBron and Laker fans hope that no matter who they match up with, they can beat them. So they've proven that, so they don't need to do that again. Rest some guys and then play Dallas. But I think you should try to win every game possible at the end of the season to make sure you're staying in a home-seated spot.
Somebody must know something because the Thunder are favored by 14.5 tonight. So I like it.
Said too, they've already just proved like this week that fully loaded versus fully loaded, they handled them, they beat them, which gives them that confidence. They don't need to go and do that again. Let these guys rest, get them ready for biggest homecoming game, and in recent history with Luka going back to Dallas. So I'm more excited.
That'll be the fun one. I'm more excited about what I'm about to say here, Danny, because I want to hear what you think about this. So Shaq's been on one. I don't know what's going on in his life, but he's been on something. So he said if
most
he
of his
played
life.
against Wemby and Chet, he would have made both of them quit. Are you buying that?
Well, Wemby does not seem like a kid that would ever quit on anything.
Nope.
But I understand when I'm recently retired. When you're one of those retired guys, I feel like Shaq is just one of those guys. He always has to prove or show or feel like people forget. So it's like, yo, you're gonna respect me. I was one of those guys. So I feel like he always has to kind of show and tell, always prove that, if I played today, because people say, if you played today, this guy would dog, or Jokic is a more skilled player than you, or this person you wouldn't be able to guard. And yes, he would have bullied these guys. He would have been able to do that on the offensive end of the floor. But on the defensive end of the floor, Shaq would have had problems guarding these guys. There's no way he's stepping out. He was not even comfortable leaving the paint. To guard them on the perimeter, to guard them alone spot, and you can't teach 7'4". These kids are 7'3", 7'4". Shaq, you're not blocking those shots, those jump shots. And they would have given him a lot of hell on that floor. But on the offensive end of the floor for Shaq, yes, he could have been playing bully ball, but it's no different than Joel. We've seen what Joel did to Wemby his rookie year. So it's kind of similar to that. But Wemby's learned from that. He didn't quit against Joel. And Shaq and Joel aren't that much different in size when it came to playing. So if he's not quitting against Joel, he's not quitting against Shaq. Chet, I don't know how much he's played. I haven't seen him, match up with those guys in the post like that, but he's not a kid that's going to back down either. And it's at the offensive end of the floor. You're gonna have your hands full guarding these two guys. So, but I understand Shaq feels these older generation guys feel disrespected sometimes when the conversation comes up that these kids can probably they have more skilled. Yes, maybe so. They can outdo maybe, but yeah, Shaq was the most dominant, and I think he just likes to reiterate that by throwing out these wild examples. So hey, I said he was one of those guys that could bully ball anybody in the paint, but he would have had some troubles guarding them on the other end of the floor.
Like, what's his problem, Chandler? Like, what are we doing here? Why are we got a new one every day?
I love Shaq. I don't know what he's on lately. And I feel like most people respect Shaq, and he is one of the most dominant forces in all of the NBA and the history of the game. So again, I don't love the comment. These are two future, faces of the league, two extremely talented, kind of rare size, skilled dudes. Yeah, Shaq would dominate them. But again, like Danny said, these guys would give Shaq fits on the other end with the way they handle the ball, with their quickness, with their speed, the way they can create their own shots. So they're two different players. They're two different, they dominate the games completely different. So I don't love the comment. I don't know where it came from. I'd like to see the video. I can get the full context, but these dudes aren't quitting, and yes, Shaq would dominate them, but they would also give Shaq issues on the other end as well. And by the way, they wouldn't even guard Shaq. They would double team him. They would foul him. Like he would never even get to go at him one-on-one. So this is just, it's I don't love it.
And it's also dependent on the era, right? Because in this era, Shaq, it's going to be tougher. Like the speed is a lot different. It's a lot more. The game was a lot slower back then. So he had the advantage. So I guess if they played in that era, yes, he'd have the advantage to where it could make it challenging for them. But if he had to play in this era where it's 3-pointers and up and down, faster pace, depending on what Shaq you get, I don't know if certain Shaqs was not in shape for that or cared to get up and down the floor that much to be able to chase these guys like that. So I don't know how well. I think he would sub out more, and that style of play wouldn't benefit him as much, because we don't go to the post as much anymore. We don't play inside. We don't slow the game down for that.
Shaq.
And they would double team, they would triple team and make you make passes, which, I mean, he calls himself Shaquille Sabonis. I don't know how great he would be making those passes, but that double team would be a lot harder to pass out of than, back in the day.
Yeah, we just enjoy these two kids' greatness too.
I know.
Like, sheesh.
What does this go? By the way, I don't get it. See, Shaq used to be a pain in the butt to David Robinson back in the day. I'm having flashbacks of PTSD from Shaq being mean to Spurs. Carmelo Anthony said, Chandler, that SGA is the evolution of Penny Hardaway, Dwayne Wade, and a little bit of James Harden. Are you buying that?
I mean, man, those are great three players to be there too. And SGA does have a little bit of all their games, the way he can stop and go on a dime, the way he speeds. No one can speed him up, whether you put a bigger guy on him or a smaller guy on him. He can post up a smaller guy, kind of shoot right over him with his little step back. And we obviously all know how fantastic and how elite he is, like James Harden was at getting to the free throw line and creating all the contact and just putting coaches in absolute misery the way he gets to the stripe. So yeah, I see it. I think he's got a little bit of everything in his game, and just the way he just carries himself, I think, is obviously the most impressive part about him. You can't tell if you see him on TV, whether they're up 20, down 20, he's got the same demeanor all game long, and he's wise, way above his years. So those are three good comparisons. And listen, the kid's having an unbelievable season. Think about how good of a season Jokic is having, and he's going to win the MVP over Jokic. That's how good this kid is. That's how good their team has been, and that's how good they're going to be for years to come. So I can see a little bit of everything with these players. So yeah, I'm buying it.
Okay. Yeah. I like the modern day age Penny Hardaway comparison. I do think he has some similarities to James when it comes to be able to, it's a skill to be able to draw contact, to get fouled, to get to the free throw line. But I think they're two different styles of play. The D-Wade comparison, I don't see it as much because D-Wade was more, I'm not saying that Shea's not athletic, but D-Wade was more of an explosive force to the basket. He was like the guard version of Charles Barkley, the undersized guy that can dunk, get to the rim. I think he had the most dunks in career for a two guard, something like that, or behind, or number two. He's in the top three or whatever in dunks. So Shea's not that type of player. Shea's more shoulder bump, change direction. So him and James are similar on that, and against the free throw line. But James is more perimeter oriented, between the legs, between hezzy. Shea's more pick and roll, get downhill, change direction, shoulder bump you, fade. But they do get to the free throw line in similarities. I said him and Penny was the point guard that can do a decent amount of things, and he was more athletic too. But I said some of those comparisons I like, but I said I don't see the D Wade one as much. Because D-Wade, I said his style of play is very different from kind of all three, but D-Wade was very, very different in how he attacked and how explosive he was at the rim.
All right. Marcus Morris Sr. Again, a lot of things being said out loud on television sets. A lot of hot takes. Yeah. One of the good ones, though, I think that's fun, was Marcus saying that Kawhi Leonard is the most feared guy in the NBA over Steph Curry, Danny. Are you buying that?
I was having this debate a couple of days. I said I almost had this conversation on my pod like a week ago. And I like this conversation. It's a good conversation, but overall, I would say no. I'd say in Kawhi's prime, at a certain point in time, there was a stretch, yes, he was the most feared guy. But Steph said the longevity Steph has had, and he's been doing it for over a decade now. I think Steph might trump that. But when it came to, if you're talking about both guys in their prime, that's a tough pick. For me, I think I'm going with Kawhi because two-way player, he could do it on both ends of the floor. That 2019 Kawhi, I seen it up close. So yes, that version of Kawhi I think is more feared than what Steph was. But unanimous MVP Steph, as soon as he got over half court, man, that was something. That was something to fear. He was shooting 4 or 5 feet behind the line consistently and shooting at a high clip, like 45%. Reason why you feared him. But I think what made him so fearful is because of the group that he also had with him. It was like, damn, we got Clay, we got to chase too. And then he had KD come around. But said when he had him and Clay paired up together, if you could just focus on Steph and it was just Steph by himself, and it was just Kawhi by himself, I think I'm probably fearing Kawhi more because he can both. He's one of the best two-way players the game has seen at that position.
I mean, what about Chandler? Like, what about today? Like, you have to play one of them, as the opponent.
Today, it's Steph. Today, it's Steph. I mean, Kawhi looks good. Kawhi looks really good right now. Don't get me wrong. But the last 4 or 5 years, I would say it was probably Steph because Kawhi's had injuries but when he's healthy, he's shown that he can still be that guy. And right now, today, Steph's a little bit older. But it's a toss-up, man. It's a toss-up.
Chandler, you're the tiebreaker.
I don't want this to sound disrespectful to Kawhi Leonard, but I don't think he was ever the most feared player in the NBA. I think he's very good. I think he was unbelievable. I think his two-way status, like Danny was just talking about, was elite. And Steph Curry, as good as he is at shooting, you do try and go at him offensively. You try and go at Luka. You try and go at Jokic. You try and make those guys that are so good offensively work. And I also agree that when you played like I was fearful when I played the Warriors, but that was also because of Klay Thompson. That was because of Kevin Durant. That was because the whole package. When you played against that Raptors team or those Spurs teams, Kawhi Leonard was a main focal point on that team, and you can't pick on him defensively. He's switching everything. He can disrupt the game more than Steph Curry on different levels. So I agree with that point, but it's crazy. I think maybe just the way he carries himself, he's kind of like that SGA with Kawhi, where he's got a little more talkative in his older years. But remember, his first 5, 6, 7 years, that dude made no emotions. He never talked to the refs. He never complained about a call. Like that was so impressive. How he just carried himself throughout the game. And Kawhi Leonard, listen, he's first ballot Hall of Fame. He is an unbelievable player. But when I think of Kawhi Leonard, I don't think of the most feared player in the NBA. I don't.
Okay, fair enough. That's why we asked. Coming up, Jokic, has he moved ahead of KD on the all-time great players list? Ruh-roh, when we come back.
Run it up, run it back, run it.